Well, welcome back, everyone, to the SMITE Summer Masters. Of course, this is day number 2, and it's been a fun event so far as we've gone through a couple of, now 5 sets total, and we're figuring out how these brackets are going to shake out. I feel more summer today than I did yesterday. I think it's the color of my shirt. Either way, you know what else is a beautiful blue? Most of the default colors for Alienware PCs. Of course, as you can see right here, you can customize them to be whatever you want. You can change that on all of them, not just the laptops, but your Aurora Ryzen RTIM desktops, like the players are playing. You've seen it in the video, and of course, you can see it here now. And you can get your own if you want to by going to SMITEgame.com/Alienware and using code AWSMITE09 to get discounts on all of those fantastic products. Whether you want a gaming monitor, you need a new PC, you want a laptop that on the go is going to play those games just as beautifully, any of that and more you can find there. You can also follow them on Instagram and Twitter at Alienware. And go to alienwarearena.com to join their global community. Thanks for Alienware and coming back for another year. Fantastic, fantastic products. Again, I've been very happy personally with my Alienware laptop, and I'm very happy with this guy I got on the desk with me. I got Mifflin over there, and I was wondering if you were going to leave your sunglasses up the way you did or not.
They're so polarized.
They're so polarized.
I can't see
There's
any
a lot of
screens.
screens. Like, that screen works pretty well. This screen works pretty well. That might just be it for all that I can see wearing sunglasses, man. They're not meant for inside, are they?
No. Or normally when you're wearing sunglasses, we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
Not looking at screens, really.
No,
usually
you're
the sun,
usually like
right?
outside. Yeah, it's like the whole
right at
point
the
is
sun.
to stop their sunglasses. Yeah, there you go.
Not to look at the sun.
Yeah, no, never look directly at the sun.
Seems like a bit of a misnomer then, doesn't it?
Maybe a little bit. You're not wrong. And what I think's funny is I keep seeing you do this, like you're doing like the dad look, where they like get over your glasses. But I think you don't get the dad as much. Maybe it's like an age thing. Maybe I'm old. Because I give off dad vibes.
I'm hoping
pretty
nobody's
heavily.
calling me a dad yet.
Katie, like,
been here a while,
no
though.
joke, has looked at me and been like, "Yeah, you're giving off dad vibes," and I'm like, "I don't like that you keep saying that."
I think she might be hinting.
No, because she's the one who can. Never mind, that's a different conversation. Instead, we could talk about the Gladiators and the Kings, and this is going to be a fun one to see how these two end up going up against each other. We got the schedule and, of course, the bracket for today and how things are going to be going. We're on the second set, Kings and Gladiators. As it was just mentioned, you'll be seeing the Scarabs take on the Mamba. I'm excited for that set to see how that shakes out. As the Scarabs playing with Sam, and of course the Warriors taking on the Ravens a little bit later today. And specifically looking at this group, you're looking at the Kings as a team that at this point has been very dominant in the SPL. Expected to potentially be dominant here throughout Masters. Gladiators have gone through a couple of changes, some shifts from what their original form was this year. And this is a group as well that I think is going to be very interesting for them as they try to take things on. And specifically, let's see, who was it from yesterday that they're going to be meeting up with? Yeah, you're right. It's going to be the Valkyries for the winner, and it's going to be the Hounds for whoever ends up losing here. They're going to have to compete with. Whoever loses will face the Hounds. I believe that is on Friday. Valkyries and whoever wins will play on Saturday, and then we'll get to the other matches after that on Sunday. The Gladiators, though, Mifflin, is who we're going to zoom in on here. Their chances feel like it's a hard battle immediately, but that's just because it's the Kings on the other side.
Yeah.
and immediately, that's a tough ask for most teams in the SPL right off the bat. You're playing with a lot of fun, though. And I think that I'm actually really interested in this team. Again, a lot of names. Lestimics, MastkiII, notably, has been very prominent. You are right. It's so hard to read some of these screens sometimes. SAP7, though, is the one that I wanted to zoom in on. And that is because SAP has been a player that has impressed me a lot, but is playing from home right now. So we'll talk about this a little bit later, but essentially what the Kings have been dealing with for the last phase, right? Having a mid laner that isn't going to be present, going to be, or at least here in the studio. And that can complicate things, but I still think that this has been a team that overall has been fun to watch.
Yeah, SAP7 strikes me as a player that likes to play with pressure, and for the most part, I think that's reflective of the Gilded Gladiators as a whole. You generally will see MastkiII on things that are very aggressive throughout the early game. Nemesis, the Ravens, the Fenriers, things along those lines that can kind of dictate the pace. Otherwise, double hunter compositions seem to be the name of the game for this squad. They love some of that scaling that it brings towards objectives. Very often will try and pick the Fafnir to flank that style of play as well. But I think that, and it was JMac that had brought this up during the previous set, this is a team that adapts quickly to the LAN environment. When they're playing in their home region, they're a European team through and through. Slower pacing. We're going to play for the macro, get a couple of neutral objectives, and then transition to the team fight. And we'll generally see that from them in like set 1 of a LAN. And over the last couple of years, they've been making it to just about every single one of the LANs. But after set 1, they're like, oh, North America likes to play quick. These SPL guys, they want to scrap early on. And they almost completely change their style immediately. And they always look good for it. So I am excited to see what they're bringing today.
It is interesting, though. I think the highlights and the reel shows this, lestimics, MastkiII, Sap, they've been playing together for a while. And normally we're used to seeing Toddy. For a while there was Rotwin. Rotwin's not on this team. He's switched over somewhere else. They have Dazer in the support. They've got Itori as a carry. So the dual lane as a whole has shifted from
who their sub/coach is?
Expected. Who's their sub/coach?
It's Reels X.
That's actually insane.
That's awesome, right?
To think about. That's actually nuts to have when you're a coach. I would argue might be better than some of the great players.
Like a lot of people
Reels is
on the
really
planet.
good at the game. Either way, we got the Gladiators standing by ready for an interview. We'll go to the booth and talk to them now.
That's right. I am once again in the player booths, this time with the Gilded Gladiators, the number 4 EU SCC team. I'm also joined by Camp16. Who is he? It's an ultimate mystery. Maybe we can figure out some other mysteries. We've got Itori over here. He's going to be subbing in for this team as the hunter for the Gilded Gladiators. Now, CaptainTwig has made a fraud list in the past for all the SPL players. Who do you think is the biggest fraud on your team right here?
Definitely has to be Sap for not coming out here to the LAN.
Sap for not making out, the biggest fraud on the team. That's right. Instead, you can see, at least sitting in the mid lane seat for now, is their coach, Alpha25. We'll talk to him in a moment. But Dazer, also playing on this team, support for the squad.
Yeah, turned up.
You got your ideal breakfast. You can make any breakfast that you want to go with. What is going to be your go-to?
Oh, I just sleep more.
You're just going to sleep?
Yeah.
You're not going to eat anything?
It's not the most important meal of the day.
Well, I consider breakfast the first meal you eat no matter what time of day it is. Are you on that same line of thought?
Yeah, I've not eaten today yet, so.
Somebody needs to get this guy some food. Coach Alpha, the 25th incarnation of Alpha, because it's Alpha 25. How do you feel about chances up against the Camelot Kings today? I know it's going to be a rough matchup. Maybe not just against the Kings, but maybe just in general, how you kind of feeling with the team?
Yeah, specifically against the teams, we are not afraid. We have something prepared, and I think it's going to work out. So I think that maybe they should be afraid of us.
Maybe the Kings, and maybe the rest of the SPL SEC should be afraid of the Gilded Gladiators. We'll see if they can make their run. We'll throw it back over to Des to keep it going.
Excited to see how they're going to be able to handle this one. Again, Sap, maybe the biggest fraud on the team for not showing up here. And normally, Mifflin, I would use this to pivot over to the Kings and talk about, well, you know what, good news is the BMT's going to be playing from ping the same way that it's been happening all phase. Except he's not. He's down the hall. He's sitting in the booth. It's really...
Oh, my God!
Again, I actually told this to you. I think I would not have noticed had I not been told that he was here, simply because Biggie's just been vibing in that chair the entire time, so seeing 5 guys is what I'm used to.
I was literally standing in the booth talking up to Camelot Kings, seeing how they were feeling coming into the set, and I was actually speaking with them, BMT, and Biggie's standing right next to me. He's like, yo, by the way, BMT's here. And I was like, well, yeah, I'm talking to him. And I was like, oh, yeah, he was across the pond a moment ago. And the genetics went on a tangent, asking me how long it would take to swim to North America from Europe. And I'll be honest, I didn't have the answer.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I think, I guess in a world where you just survive permanently, like a long time.
He said it. He Googled it. It takes like 7 months.
I would assume you'd die before
I
any
would.
of that. No,
yeah.
I think just in general. I think anybody. I don't think there's a way you make it from
Well, surely
America
if you got like a boat following
swimming.
you can like sleep.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess there's ways to do it.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. That seems like cheating. That's not like swimming the whole way. You're on a boat.
Maybe
the tides
should
are
we,
move
should
you
we
a
talk
little
about the Camelot
bit.
Kings?
Yeah, we probably should a little bit. They've been, look, man, they've been dominating, right? This has been a team that has just looked almost untouchable by SBL standards. What was it? 2 total losses they took throughout the phase in terms of sets. A lot of varied picks, a lot of stylistic changes, all of it, as mentioned, with Tings playing on ping. Now, back in the studio, feels like it's going to just mesh well and feels like almost a level up for them as they were already on the top. That's a scary thought.
Yeah, I know a lot of the discourse around the Camelot Kings is that these guys are regular phase just gods. They're really firing on all cylinders during the regular season of play, and then how much more could they really bring out come LAN time?
Yeah.
So what did they do during the regular season? they put the weights on and they sent BMT across the world. All right, land's starting
It
up.
was all for training
You're
purposes.
wondering how we're going to level up. We're just going to get our guys back in studio. So seems to me that the SPL and the entirety of competitive Smite have got their work cut out for them to try and tackle what has been the best team in the world as of recent. The Camelot Kings have only impressed me, and I expect them to do the same. So I'm not going to have the conversation of what's their win condition. Early game farm, they're really good at macro. But I want to have the conversation of which version of the Camelot Kings are we going to get? Because I think up against this SCC squad, I wouldn't be surprised if the Camelot Kings try and replicate the pacing that we had seen during their Oni Warriors set.
Yeah,
where it was
fast.
just, hey, we're going to run you down across the map with our penta squishy composition, and we're just going to game on you. And it worked against the Oni Warriors. Gotta think it could work against the Gladiators as well.
Yeah, especially, look, a team coming in, SCC, that has gone through the changes they've gone through. It feels like you have to imagine that at least their strategy would come in. That being said, if you're prepared for that kind of style, there's a way to deal with it, a heads up. Maybe we'll see, I guess, whether or not the Kings, well, if they want to run it down or not. As we jump into game number 1, Gladiators will be your first pick team here in game number 1. For set number 2 of the day, Capri will be the first ban. And that's the other thing. I feel like I can't think of good bans versus the Kings, right? Like, everything feels like a good ban versus the Kings, but at the same time, it's like, well, you got rid of, like Capri's a good ban against them. But at the same time, Genetics is going to play Ymir or Terra or something and still look insanely good. Yeah, like,
Eset.
it feels like no matter what you do, you're still losing a little bit just there.
Yeah, so what do you do then? You ban
Cry.
things that deal with your strategy. If we want early game pick compositions, get rid of the Capri. You might give up the Yemoja, who's really strong in the team fight, but that's not the portion of the game that you're playing for hypothetically. If you can't ban out a player, and I would argue for the most part in the SPL, it's pretty difficult to ban out individual players, you ban out strategies. And so far, what the Gladiators have done is take away some of the key components of some of the compositions that the Kings have got, but also picks that deal really well with pick-style compositions. If you want to play something that has got high CC lockdown, get rid of the Lancelot. When he's on the horse, it just feels like the majority of CC doesn't work against him. If you want single-target damage, get rid of that Capri. Scare's Blessing simplifies the engagement, especially when you're dealing with a team composition that's really only good at killing one guy at a time.
Yeah.
Nemesis as well. If you want a tanky, just isolate the backline, monolithic style front line, things like the Cthulhu come to mind, maybe a Nemesis is a good shout out. So we'll get a good look at how the Gladiators choose to play. All that analysis kind of goes to the window though when Baba Yaga is your first lock in.
So not only like first pick for the tournament, but first pick in this game, no one else has looked at. I can't think of the last time we saw Baba Yaga. It must have been in the SCC.
And they saw it and they said, I need it now.
Yeah, so well, where does this come from? Again, like, if I'm talking at home, I'm looking at ranked. Like, Katie's been playing a ton of Baba Yaga lately, but when she gets thrown in mid, she loves it. I think because she herself internally is just an old wicked witch in the woods.
Good lord.
But
she's not watching,
no,
is she?
she'll say it. Those are her words.
Understood.
That's a quote. Either way, it's someone that, good damage, late game, things like that. I mean, we were talking it up after the 9-5 health changes that since the game was going longer, feels like it stacks better. But it doesn't feel like a first pick that I'm used to seeing in like 6 weeks, maybe. Like, even then, it wasn't even that a first pick.
Yeah, I'm not certain that Baba Yaga's ever been first pick priority order in Smite competitive, but what she does bring is consistent DPS, a decent escape, the ability to deal with those Yemoja walls, massive HP shield. If you think the game's going to go long, and I'm assuming the Gladiators are likely expecting the Kings to play their standard style, which is generally a bit slower than what we see from some of these other teams. You've got the opportunity to double stack, triple stack if you so choose, and do it faster than just about anybody else. But the curiosity continues. Cupid, which has been rampant in every other set and every level of play in competitive Smite over the last couple of months, goes ignored by both teams this time around. The Kings get the Ullr for themselves, Ho Yi for the Gladiators. I like the core 3 of the Gladiators. I think just in a vacuum, just not even evaluating that it is Baba Yaga first pick, but what this team composition can do as 3 is good. King Arthur, left alone on an island in the Soul Lane, should be able to hold his own. Ho Yi's got decent kill pressure, has the ability to fight into the Ullr with relative ease. Baba Yaga, of course, can establish her own pace in mid, choose whether or not she wants to expedite the build by going for raw power or going for that stacking style. Whereas the Kings, I'm never going to argue against the Kings because they're just doing whatever they want and it always works, but this is standard Kings, and I've heard rumblings that just giving genetics Yemoja is a loss. You know, he's that good on it.
There's what, maybe 2 or 3 players.
Yeah,
I
loss
would
for the
maybe
guys
say
playing
2.
into the Yemoja, by the way.
Usually, yeah, it's a loss for whoever's playing into it. And I would say genetics and
Yeah,
wrong
Dave
you,
looked at me
right?
like he was confused, so I wanted to clarify.
If genetics has it or if wrong you has it. That's just the game.
Those are the
right?
guys.
I mean, it's usually it just means it's over. I guess we'll see whether or not the Gladiators are going to be able to bounce back for this one. Also was told that Katie is in chat, so she can confirm
Maybe apologize?
the statement. No, yesterday we're on a walk and she said her knees hurt because she said had old lady knees. And then she said, it's really just my transformation into Baba Yaga. Like, that, I'm not kidding. This is genuinely her thought
Getting a lot of
process on it.
Smite caster lore right now.
So this is the at-home life. Ratatoskr locked in. Look, this is something that if there wasn't an Artio already locked in, we'd be talking about Variety playing it because Variety, most of the time, is the Rat player for this team. But no, it's going to be Twig taking it into the jungle. Feels like Rat has really skyrocketed in terms of priority over the last couple of weeks. And, I mean, he's just got kind of a lot, right? Good engage, good damage. Feels like it'll be a good fit for the Kings.
Yeah, also very adaptable. Maybe you want to be a crit Ratatoskr. That could work out. Maybe you want to be survivable, get a little bit of HP infusion every time you use an ability. That could work out. Regardless, he's always bringing defense shred. He's always getting to that back line. And he's always got consistent CC lockdown. I'm always surprised when Ratatoskr falls out on the meta because I feel like his kit is just so strong. Evaluate what he does just from a jungler perspective. Semi-global ultimate into a knock-up, which is undrable CC, as well as one that you have to be on point with your CC immunity, can go golden in the air, lose value from those beads, sets up perfectly for his own stun, and if you leap away, man's got a slow on his dash, plus defense shred, plus L plus ratio. Ratatoskr's kit is amazing, dude. Like, it just always surprises me when he isn't consistently played, but the Kings seem to have found some value from that pick in multiple roles, and we'll get a good look at it here. And, well, early game presence from him, certainly strong. And what are you facilitating in the early game? Well, eventually you're going to have an Olorun.
The majority of this draft feels like something, like, outside of the Ratatoskr, it feels like something the Kings would have been running, like, 5 months ago anyway. Like, most of it hasn't
Kings
really
do
shifted.
Kings.
And I actually really like that because, you know, you were talking about it. If they're doing a lot of stuff during regular season, conversation around this team, what did he do to maybe power up at LAN? I like the idea that if they're coming into this matchup, look, you're the first seed in the SPL. You've been giving trouble to every team that is the most competitive for months. Don't show anything new. This is exactly, they probably have tons of numbers on these guys for every single one of them. The only difference is Twigs on the Rat as opposed to like a Naja, which I guess was something we would have seen in like phase 1 or whatever. The other side though, Cabrakan, Set get locked in to close this out. And with the Cabrakan locked in alongside the Assassin, feels like he's going to be going into the duo lane alongside the Ho Yi. That can be a bully lane in the right hands.
Yeah, pretty good bounce set up there. Has a whole lot of lockdown just for the Reigning Suns. The Sunbreaker, of course, dropped inside of that cage. Very similar in execution as, like, I don't know, like an Odin Ho Yi or like an Odin Zeus, if you've seen things like that. But when you look at the Gladiators composition top to bottom, the 5-stack, Spearhead. Baba Yaga is going to be diving pretty consistently. Going to that home sweet home, run him down, W key plus M1, kind of like the Pyro from TF2. Ho Yi, dive bomb into the back line. King Arthur, if he's not holding W, he's probably dead. Cabrakan, the exact same thing. Set, the exact same thing. This Gladiators composition is just raw aggression across the board, but it's a double-edged sword. Fall behind, your draft's not exactly good at base defending. Your draft's not exactly good when you're having to give up space to the Camelot Kings. So this screams to me, the Gladiators saying, hey, we're going to come out the gates roaring, and we're going to try and hold on to that for the whole match.
Honestly, it's going to be fun to watch. See whether or not they can get themselves ahead or if things are going to crumble for them and the Kings will continue to hold their crown up. It's the Kings versus the Gladiators, and it is Dave and Spooky for game number 1.
That's right, we finally get our first look at the number 1 seed SPL team, the Camelot Kings, going up against the number 4 seeded Gilded Gladiators out of the EU SEC. And Gore is spot on, he always is. It's Dolson, Spooky, and Doug for our second set of the day. And Spooky, you and I talked a bit on the desk. Anticipation on this one because yes, the Camelot Kings love their macro play. They can play the map effectively. The type of team that'll take you 20 minutes with no kills and somehow be like 8,000 gold ahead. Gilded Gladiators, they like to play that type of game in the EUSCC. But Kings can draft compositions that'll run it down on you as well, and I wonder if we're maybe getting an aggressive styled Kings here in Game 1.
It definitely looks like the Kings are wanting to be much more aggressive, and that really comes out with this Ullr and with this Ratatoskr that CaptainTwig is piloting. Both of those gods are known for being very good early on in the game and exerting high amounts of pressure in the early. Sure, you know, Ratatoskr will tend to fall off the later the game goes, but then they have Netrioid lock in this Olorun. That's all the late game scaling that you really need. That thing gets monstrously crazy as the game goes on. So yeah, the Kings are definitely going to be bringing it to the Gladiators very early on. But they're not afraid of this going a little bit longer, too. They've made sure to cover all their bases here.
Now, the desk talked about it on the flip side as well, where the Gilded Gladiators, like through and through, of course you can scale up with the Baba Yaga. You're going to make full use of that passive with stacking items, things like that. But between a Cabrakan and a Eset and the King Arthur, almost need to be active early. Do you agree with that assessment? You need to see the Gilded Gladiators put the pedal down against the Camelot Kings early in this game?
Oh, for sure. That's why you have this Cabrakan in the dual lane. You want to get aggressive over. You want to find yourself a lead. The problem is, they're doing this against Netrioid and Genetics on Olorun and Yemoja. They have so much sustain in this lane. Any damage that the Gladiators are able to put onto this dual lane is going to drop off pretty quickly. They have to full commit and find the 100 to 0. They can't just take these small trades and whittle the Kings down. They have to take it all the way on each engagement, which means that MastkiII is going to have to be very, very active. He's going to have to get over to this dual lane and find a lot of aggression over there. Alternatively, they could try to bring the aggression into this mid lane and put that onto BigManTingz, but there's so much damage from the Ullr and the Ratatoskr that's going to be local. It's going to be a tough ask.
Yeah, absolutely. If it ends up being poke battles, it'll fall down to health potion battles over here in the dual lane as far as early pressure goes. Nice double stun from Dazer, but it's returned by Genetics. Should be fine to just walk out on the Cabrakan. Sap already out of mana because just spammed abilities towards BigManTingz. Already lost about half of his health over there in the mid lane. Level 5, that's the big mark for CaptainTwig here. And I think, did you and I cast a rat game yesterday? I think we must have.
I think we did, yeah.
With just how easy it is to facilitate ganks and set up for the rest of your team on those styles of picks. But also good carry games. And Twig has talked in the past about how, yes, he plays facilitation, setup style junglers, but doesn't just want to be known for that. Also wants to be looked at as the type of guy who can play the carry style junglers. I think Ratatoskr has the ability to do a bit of both.
Yeah, certainly. If Twig is able to get ahead on this Ratatoskr, that's going to feel really bad for the Gladiators, because Ratatoskr just has so much damage, so much burst. It's really going to come down to which Acorn he decides to choose. Though Dazer is still under aggression. Look at the Kings, how aggressive they want to play this, and they don't even need Twig around for this. This is just the duo lane and the prowess that they're able to exert with a much later game god like Olorun.
Yeah, and that's nice play from Genetics to help walk the dual lane in forward. Goodbye, Sap 7. CaptainTwig and BigManTingz walk over into the mid lane. They put their pressure on the Baba Yaga, who needs a bit of time to get there. And maybe worst case scenario, now you get this Ullr with an early kill in the back pocket. BigManTingz can exert some more pressure in mid.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see this Ullr get a little bit big here if this continues. Twig getting active on this Baba. She's not super safe until she hits level 5 and gets the home sweet home active. Itori also in some danger here. Should be able to get his way on back to that tier 1 tower, no problem. Not enough damage there for the Kings just yet. But back to Twig and this mid lane. Sap is going to be very, very vulnerable with only the Cauldron as her safety tool right now. Until she hits level 5 and starts getting the Warlock staff, getting some stacks on there, she's going to be a pretty easy target. And Twig's already shown that he's willing to get active over here. We have to be very, very careful around this area. You see Mass trying to respond a little bit, get some pressure back to him.
Yeah, hope you get the wave pushing back against BigManTingz. I mean, because now at level 5, I mean, it's just Ratatoskr. It's as simple as popping the ultimate, dropping down on Sap. Though home sweet home and Cauldron helps in the next minute or so until those beads are back. And so you got to keep eyes on the mini-map here. Where is MastkiII going? Where is that set going to try to find pressure here for the Gilded Gladiators? Could be follow-up on Variety, but Variety so good at this Artio and sustaining through lane, staying alive. I don't envy the position that MastkiII is in, right? It feels like the Kings have had a pretty good time in most of their lanes up to this point. That's level 5 for both Genetics and Netrioid, level 4 for Dazer and Itori, so there's an immediate advantage for the dual lane of the Kings if they're able to send out those ultimates, but it looks like Dazer to safely go back over to the purple buff. He'll hit level 5 as well, but not entirely safe. This is smart from Netrioid and Genetics. Still 2 levels over Itori. Nothing has happened in duo. It's just pressure that's built up. And now Genetics, BigManTingz, and Netrioid have eyes for Dazer, and the kill will drop. I mean, my goodness, Spooky. It is just good old-fashioned pressure that's built up, and that brings BMT over to left for a pseudo mid lane gank, gives the Kings their second kill.
And that's what pressure across the map is going to do for you. You saw the dual lane get some pressure for the Kings there. They're able to step towards that purple buff. But importantly, BMT was able to send Sap back to the base, get some pressure in that mid lane, and that's what allows him to make that rotation to the purple buff as well. Dazer was sticking around there for quite some time, and that's one of the dangers of doing that. If you want to contest that purple buff, you have to make the choice. Do you want to go for it? Oh, looks like they do.
They do. MastkiII would love to get a kill on a Netrioid here. Actually teleports back to his clone. Netrioid has no health and no mana. Does Genetics have the body blocks? But the skewers from MastkiII, you can't block those. And the Gilded Gladiators on the board. And it's MastkiII who is needed to get going here, is able to do so. And it's Netrioid who drops, but Netrioid is able to get a kill earlier on in lane. But what has MastkiII done? He is set up for maybe a second kill onto Genetics. The left side of the map has hung around a bit too long, and the Camelot Kings end up dropping a couple of kills, but needed. I mean, look at gold.
Yeah.
1,500. Gilded Gladiators need to take advantage.
Yeah, that was a really good play from the Gladiators. It was already pretty good when they were able to confirm the kill onto Netrioid. He'd already burned the beads, you got the shell out, you got the ultimate from Olorun. That's already a big win. You have the kill on top of it. Oh, we're looking beautiful. The Kings just stick around a little bit too long, maybe expecting the Gladiators to have backed off and not capitalize fully on that take, but SCC is here for a reason. They have shown that they earned this spot, and they're here to party with the Kings. Be a little bit more careful than that. Make sure you get those wards down, because you see on that left side, it's all vision for the Gladiators.
Yep.
They're the ones deep warding around that purple buff. Kings, they've got a ward on the Gladiators' purple buff, but not their own, and that's why they kind of have that little problem there.
Yeah, it gives you a good idea of what the Kings are looking to do, and it's get on the Gilded Gladiator side of the jungle and hope that the Gladiators aren't on their side of the jungle. Looks like another purple buff look from Genetics here. We're chilling. We'll exchange some emotes. Or he should be okay, but take a bit of chunk damage. And Genetics will abandon the effort, it looks like. And Itori, it's good now that the Hou-Yi's been able to catch back up. It was about a 2-level lead that Netrioid had built up passively through the laning phase. Sap will hold on to beads this time. We haven't seen the big through the Cosmos gank yet from CaptainTwig. Has simply just walked into lane over in mid once. Feels like only a matter of time before we see this Ratatoskr find a lane to gank.
He's just biding his time right now. If he's able to find success without burning that ultimate, that's a big win for the Kings. That means he can use it to disengage if he needs to, or make a faster rotation to a different part of the map. If you can find some aggression onto Sap in this mid lane, just utilizing the dart, which is one of the longest dashes in the game, mind you. That's a ton of distance that it covers. You're feeling pretty good about that. So it'll force Sap to either cauldron hop away, or use the home sweet home if she's already used the leap. And at that point, you can follow it through the Cosmos. I've never seen a follow-up counter game.
2 versus 2 on right. MastkiII feeling good, and for good reason. Variety takes a mountain of damage from the set, who is at 101. Brawler's beat stick to start off. Limit a bit of the sustain the Camelot Kings have in spades. Going to need anti-heal this game. We'll return to that after the Gilded Gladiators complete their journey through the King's side of the jungle. Hoping the blue buff was going to spawn. It's about to. Are they going to leave? No, it sprouts out, but
they're back.
Yeah, they gotta back away because the Camelot Kings back to the right side of the map. A Riptide awaits Dazer, who will walk around at a stun, though from CaptainTwig, sets up the kill. And again, it's just Ratatoskr walking forward. BigManTingz has been the real winner here. Rotates out of lane for his 3rd effective kill of the game.
Dazer just has not been having a good time on the Cabrakan so far. He doesn't have any movement options to get him away from this Riptide that Genetics is able to put up, and we've constantly seen it cause some problems for him. And it's just not a great matchup for the Cabrakan. If you go into the Tremors, you're going to get Moonstrike out of him. You're not going to be able to confirm that damage. If you decide to throw up the Tectonic Shift, sure, you might be able to lock Genetics in, but then, like we just said, you can't do the Tremors. You can't find the follow-up damage. You're relying wholly on your team to follow up anything that Dazer wants to do right now. And so far, he's been a little bit too far away to actually get that going. There's been a few too many steps forward, a little bit of over-aggression, and it just has not gotten him anywhere.
Now, if you're the Gilded Gladiators, you're looking at the scoreboard, you're saying, hey, 3-2, we're not doing too bad against the SPL squad, but it's the pace of the game that the Camelot Kings set, where they're looking at the scoreboard and they're saying, yeah, but we're 2,000 gold and 1.5 thousand experience ahead. This is the type of game the Camelot Kings play even at the SPL level. They might even be down in kills at this point in the game, but all of the jungle farm that has been stolen away, I'm thinking red buffs, purple buffs, just been too much. Neutral farm. I guess technically not neutral if it's on the Gladiator side of the map. Too much Gladiators farm that's been taken away. And right on time. Pyromancer's been here for 30 seconds and the Camelot Kings already pulling it, but the Gladiators with MastkiII on the right side of the map won't even give it a look. That'll be a nice early objective for the Camelot Kings, and as always, first to show up and usually the team to grab it.
This is exactly what we were talking about when we mentioned objective-focused gameplay. The Kings, they're not looking to just get ahead in kills, because the kills aren't what gets you ahead. It's the farm on the map. It's the objectives that you're able to take. Sure, you know, maybe it's been an even game as far as the kills go, but if they're able to position more effectively, they're more responsive to what the teams are doing, they're going to get to these objectives. And once again, Dazer pulled back by the Riptide.
Dazer, will he fall? Should, but ends up staying alive, and actually the Camelot Kings, thanks to the reply of the Gilded Gladiators. I've spoken too soon.
Oh, bling.
Through the Cosmos and a Sunder. You saw that right, from CaptainTwig onto Dazer, and through it all, Dazer will live. Over in mid, MastkiII running down BigManTingz, who's 2-0. It'd be a great target for MastkiII to pick up, but simply too much lockdown between Genetics, Variety, and BMT. And a 1v1 over on left. Netrioid felt himself here as of late, avoids the ricochet. Sure, he has the legs, but CaptainTwig sure does. It's moments like this where the game starts to separate a bit. It's really only one kill, a couple of kills for the Camelot Kings in this moment. But the conversion, the chase down from mid, Twig goes left, those types of moments really where the Camelot Kings make their money.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for the Gladiators because Twig committed a lot to trying to kill Dazer there and did not find that kill.
Yeah.
If MastkiII's not trying to push forward and take BigManTingz down, they'll probably walk out of that feeling pretty good. Unfortunately, he's not able to find the kill himself. MastkiII gets taken down, leads to a whole exchange over to the left side of the map, and that puts the Kings in a perfect position to start looking at the Gold Fury. Not committing to it just yet, but it shows you exactly what the Kings are thinking. They don't need to find all these kills. They just want to play the map as quickly and as efficiently as they possibly can. Weren't able to find it here. We can start to see they're going to be going back to that pretty soon.
I think we should return to the anti-heal conversation, though, now that we do have a chance. Because not only are there all these uphill battles the Gladiators are fighting against anyway, but between Netrioid, Genetics, Variety specifically, I mean, you've got so much sustain for the Camelot Kings. You've got the Brawler's Beat Stick right now. That's there for MastkiII. Mail of Renewal Bill for Genetics as well. I have to imagine you need to see more from the Gladiators somewhere before the end of this game.
Yeah, no, we're needing to see the Divine Ruin on Sap. We need to see Contagion or Pestilence coming out from Lestimics. You need to have as much anti-heal. I wouldn't even be mad about seeing a Cursed Ankh come out, but I'm not going to see that on the solo laner. That's going to have to go to Dazer if you still want to pick that up. But looking at the healing that the Kings have right now, like, how can you decide not to pick up an Ankh? Variety's got healing. Twig's got healing. BMT, if he decides to go for some lifesteal, sure, maybe. But you look at Genetics, Netrioid, there's healing there. That applies to the rest of the team. There's so much sustain in this team that if you don't get the anti-heal, what the Kings are going to do is they're going to step up to these objective fights, and they're going to test you. Are you going to respond? Okay. Are you going to full commit? If not, okay, we're going to step back. We're going to use our sustain, go back to full, and we're going to do it again. We're going to test you again. It's going to keep repeating until they put the Gladiators into a position where they are no longer able to full commit. And that's the danger that they run.
Absolutely. Need to get something going in the kills department as well, because it's just not been there. More axes connecting for BigManTingz, and a 1v1 in the jungle. A small silver lining is the 1-level lead that MastkiI's gotten. Great walls from Dazer. BigManTingz, he's standing his ground and fighting, but should have turned tail as MastkiII sends his pressure towards mid, and the Gilded Gladiators do finally drop the Ullr. And it's already MastkiII who had a bit of a lead, and it was a killing spree for BigManTingz that gets shut down. So a nice turn of fate for the Gladiators. Still a lot to do, but a good-looking moment over in the mid lane.
They do expend 2 ultimates for that, though. Gladiators now only have 3 available, and meanwhile, Kings have not expended a single ult in that fight. They're still rearing and ready to go. I wouldn't be surprised if they're still willing to step towards this Gold Fury or even the Pyromancer as it comes back up here. It's not the best position, but at the same time, it's still a really good trade for the Gladiators. They pick one up, lose nothing, and take a look at those splash lines there. BigManTingz is 2 levels up, now only 1 level up on SAP 7. So this is a really, really good shutdown for them. Put SAP 7 back into position, back into this game where he's able to have a little bit more of an impact. This is just duo lane things. Netrioid and Itori are just dancing around each other, trying to find something. Of course, you're not going to find too much.
Net loves the 1v1, though. Anytime Netrioid's in lane, I'm assuming he's looking for something. Look, he face plants the stun, but barely takes any damage. How often are you seeing a Sanctified Field get used just for the 1v1? He thought it was a 1v1, but Twig with the jump in gives Netrioid the 2v1 kill. Set up by Netrioid, knocked down by Twig, and then fully dropped by the Olorun. Gives a kill over to the Kings, but there is a collapse, a big collapse coming in from the Gilded Gladiators. Netrioid and Twig might have to use that movement to get out, but just not enough movement. Dazer walls off Netrioid. It ends up being a 1-for-1 trade, ADC for ADC.
In terms of the rest of the team, though, Kings are not happy with how that went. They're looking to party.
Could be a double kill on a double stun, but Gilded Gladiators healthy enough to still round the corner, and it looks like now maybe back to the Gold Fury, trying to out-objective the Camelot Kings is always a tall task, but Gilded Gladiators trying to make it happen. BigManTingz gets stunned. Take the shell, back away. River's Rebuke is up, but crashes down, and it's big from Genetics, as you'd expect. And a stun on the other end slows down MastkiII. Dazer on the back line, being chased down by Variety. There simply hasn't been enough damage from the Kings or the Gladiators to finish off these low health targets. Some good peel and maybe good sustain has kept everyone on the map.
Really good presence from the Kings there. They know not to overcommit to that. They know they're not getting too many kills there. They're just there to stop the Glads from taking down that Gold Fury. They've already lost Netrioid. They don't have that second backliner there to DPS and put any of the Gladiators in the ground. All they're doing is making sure that they do enough damage to force the Gladiators back. Beautiful ultimate coming out from Genetics. Separates the fight so well, allows BigManTingz to survive. If that wall didn't come up when it did, Dazer 100% kills BMT there. But it's all for naught. They just go right over to this Pyromancer, and the Gladiators walk away with nothing. That's got to feel bad.
Has to. I mean, look, when Variety is stepping forward, zoning out 3 members of the Gilded Gladiators. This would be a fun 1 versus 1. Last bit of mana that BigManTingz has used to jump out. Neither stun connecting. Both characters still had beads, so it would have been hard-pressed to find a kill at the end of the day anyway. Good kill pacing from the Gilded Gladiators, but gold not quite as effective. It is kind of funny. We talked about anti-heal and the Gilded Gladiators needing it. Variety's the one with the Contagion. Twig is the one with the Ankh. Absolutely some sustain on the Gilded Gladiators that the Kings would love to shut down, but funny, the prioritization seems a bit flipped here. Does give the Kings a nice leg up in these fights. I mean, not only is your healing not being limited, but you're limiting the little bit of healing that the Gladiators can do as well.
Yeah, this is a really good pickup from the Kings. This is entirely for MastkiII. The sustain that comes from Kingslayer has been keeping him alive in so many different fights. If you notice, he's only 3-1, and he's been diving into the fights, just taking on multiple members constantly. With this Contagion, with this Cursed Ankh online, it's going to be a little bit harder for MastkiII to do his job. If the Gladiators don't start building some more anti-heal for themselves, the lack of sustain on their end is going to start becoming very, very prevalent. It's going to cause some big issues.
It's going to be a glaring issue. Another nice double stun from Genetics and a double River's Rebuke. Where is Twig? Dropping down. It's towards Itori, who immediately trades spots, dashes backwards, drops the Suns, gets the stun. But the Camelot Kings, they are way too healthy, and all of the burst damage finds the Gilded Gladiators in the backline, though. MastkiII on a killing spree. He still has some legs in this fight. The Camelot Kings carries needs some help, but a double kill from MastkiII keeps the Gladiators in this fight. The SEC squad is here to play, and there could be more. MastkiII already on 2, has damage for a 3rd, but Itori takes it away in a sweeping fight win for the Gilded Gladiators.
And Gladiators are living off the back of MastkiII right now. Kings, and they've got to do something. They keep leaving their backline alone. They're pushing forward, they're finding these kills, but MastkiII is just thriving in the back of these fights. He finds Netrioid, and sure, he kills him with Genex right by him, but this set has so much damage. Genex by himself isn't going to be enough to just stop him. If you notice, the anti-heal members of the Kings were pushing forward. They were not nearby MastkiII. They weren't putting any reasonable anti-heal onto him, and he just keeps sustaining through the damage that Netrioid is able to put out. You can see that they did burn the Sanctified Field, and it's still just not enough. Now the Gladiators get to step forward. Now they get to start looking at the Fire Giant themselves.
Still a comfortable gold position. Oh my goodness. Where did Twig's health bar go? All into the pocket of Itori and MastkiII. And what is happening here? The Gilded Gladiators out of nowhere, outpacing the Camelot Kings in the objective. The objective Kings have a Fire Giant pulled in front of them. They're gonna have to contest this one, 4 versus 5. This might be the best call, because look, the Kings still ahead in the gold department. This might be the best opportunity for the Gilded Gladiators to make something happen. But this is where that sustained battle can really be important. The Kings have enough presence to step forward, and the Gladiators won't end up sticking on the Fire Giant.
Yeah, probably the right call there. Move away. Don't fall into the trap that the Kings want to put you into. They know if they can start taking these trades, the Kings will end up coming out on top. Instead, shift over to this tier 1. Put a little bit more gold in your pockets. You're still not even, but you've done a lot of work in putting it much, much closer.
Yeah, it's shrunk down. I mean, 4,000 or so drops down to nearly 1,000 in the experience. Wow, it has skyrocketed for the Gilded Gladiators. A lot of that MastkiII, who's 3 levels up over CaptainTwig. But the level advantages that the Camelot Kings had now disappeared. It's really the gold that the Kings have to show for themselves right now, and even that has been limited. The scrappiness of the Gilded Gladiators maybe catches the Kings a bit off guard over there in the mid lane. But really, you can't look past MastkiII, right? I mean, not that we are, but feels like that's where the Gilded Gladiators are hanging their hat here in this game. It's the 5-1-3 set. That's what disrupts that previous team fight over in mid. But as we rotate towards the objective, I think Kings got to just stabilize themselves and realize this is where we can make our sustain work. Still not much anti-heal. Kirstong picked up for Dazer. That's a nice addition. But if the Kings can maybe poke out around this Fire Giant, get some good ward coverage, could be a good couple of minutes if the Gilded Gladiators can't step up.
Yeah, ward's going to be absolutely massive here, because what the Kings really need to do is they need to make sure they are keeping tabs on MastkiII through the entire game. They have to know where he is, where he's positioning, and what he's trying to do. So far, all of their problems can be boiled down to, is MastkiII on our backline? Yeah? Okay, well, we've lost the fight then. Keep tabs on him, force these relics out before the fights happen. If he's able to walk into a fight with his beads online, your Sanctified Field, it's not going to matter. He's going to run through it, he's going to kill Netrioid, and he's going to move on to the next backliner he finds, which is probably going to be BMT here. You have to put pressure on him. Take the beads away, put him in a position where he's not feeling as safe. And if the Glads decide to step too far back, go ahead and pull yourself a Pyro.
Looks like the Gladiators want to step up for it, though. They won't be able to get in range, and the Kings get the Pyromancer, 3rd of the game. Hasn't been a contested objective by the Gilded Gladiators. Dazer has really turned around the game of this Cabrakan as well. Was rough start. He's found a couple of good walls. This one an exception, though. MastkiII in with 4 of the Camelot Kings, and the Kings have checked the box. We have gotten rid of the set, and now maybe feeling better as far as team fight goes. Still very low on the health bars. Might need to back and reset, but the biggest threat on the map now gone for 45 seconds. Dazer may end up dropping for the 2nd kill. BigManTingz takes some damage here. Home sweet home from Sap means disengage for the Kings.
That's exactly what the Kings wanted. They weren't looking to kill anyone else there. They were hitting Dazer. He's a tank. They know that they're not taking him down in any reasonable amount of time. They just wanted the Gladiators to commit a little bit more to that fight, and they got exactly what they wanted. The home sweet home means that the only ultimate available to the Gilded Gladiators now is going to be the King Arthur ult. That alone is not going to win you too many fights, but CaptainTwig is looking for a lot more.
Twig ults in, beats off of Itori, triple stun. I'll take that to go, says Variety. But the kills haven't dropped yet. Needs a bit more burn from CaptainTwig, from Netrioid. Sap through the cauldron, dashes away. Big stun on the CaptainTwig on the front of the fight, and lestimics has been burnt down here as well. Bit of a split mindset from the Camelot Kings. Not able to finish off any of the kills, but relic situation absolutely dire, really for both teams here. Feels like, Spooky, whoever finds that engage, it's really gonna stick on the priority targets because no beads for any of the carries, shells down for everyone but Itori. Could be a firework of a team fight here in the next minute or so.
BMT finds some good poke onto Mast. That's exactly who you want to find it on. If they can find a way to push Mast out while all these relics are down, the Gladiators, they're not going to want to take a team fight around the Fire Giant at this point, especially if it's going to be a 4v5. If they can just push one person away, it breaks the entire game open for the Kings. And look at the slash line again here. You can see the scoreboard, 8-7. Gladiators might be leading the kills still, but the Kings have taken back that goal. They've pushed it back to about 3,500. And this is the exact kind of game style that you expect to see from the Kings. They are feeling themselves. Sure, they might have stumbled a little bit there in the mid-game, but their position around this Fire Giant, this is where they want to play.
Yeah, this is the Kings' game state to a T. Into big items being hit as well. So Divine Ruin, as we earlier on mentioned, finally picked up for SAP 7. So diversified the anti-heal a bit for the Gilded Gladiators. But I just look at the serious damage that Tingz has been able to do. Beautiful Riptide from Genetics.
Oh,
River's
wow.
Rebuke nearly catches out Dazer. I thought it certainly would have, but he was able to get away.
There's a little jump. It
Just
got
a
him,
little
got him
jump,
through
that's
there.
right. Maybe Itori upgrades to a Phantom Shell at some point, help out with the River's Rebuke later on in the game. Might be a nice option. BigManTingz and Netrioid also have that option. And so a couple of the walls could be mitigated here in the next few team fights if we do see those shells upgraded.
I definitely do want to see some Phantom Shells coming out, especially for the Kings, right? They've been getting a lot of problems from Dazer landing that tectonic shift onto priority targets, namely Netrioid and BMT. Netrioid especially just doesn't have a way out of there once it's been locked in, and he's really relying on Genetics to help him out there. But now the Kings might be looking for a big flank here.
Oh, that's big from Dazer. It's a double wall onto BigManTingz, who's got to jump away. And where is the set? The set is in the back line. Aegis gets used, and the skewer damage is enough. But MastkiII has to accept his fate. It's a 1-versus-1 trade. But the Gilded Gladiators are surging forward, and it is happening again. The Gladiators have killed off BigManTingz and now have the legs to chase down the rest of this fight. It'll end up being a 3-for-1 on a lestimics double kill and a MastkiII backline dive.
Unbelievable play coming out from MastkiII, constantly finding the exact plays that the Gladiators need to take these fights all the way. Dives in, he goes in very first. He's the first one in there after Dazer throws up the tectonic shift. He's in the middle of 5 people, and he is still finding his target and putting them in the dirt. Burns his Aegis, sure, that's not a problem. Burns his beads is just so he can stay alive long enough to contest this fight. Now the Gladiators are wanting to go for this Fire Giant, but Twig is in the area.
Twig is in range. He'll dash away. So now the gap close, limited. Variety here as well. What kind of problems can the Camelot Kings initiators make happen here against the Gilded Gladiators? Fire Giant's low. CaptainTwig will die off, but Dazer is low as well. Variety, one of the best in the world, turns around 1 kill, and the Gilded Gladiators get FG, but it's only on 4. Variety still an opportunity to deal a bit of damage, but Itori's got more, and the Gladiators kill off Variety, kill off Twig, and the 4th seed EU SEC squad has picked up Fire Giant on 4 members of their team, and the gold lead now getting close to even as well. The Gilded Gladiators are taking it to the Kings here in Game 1.
This is a very good day if you are an SCC fan. The Gladiators are looking absolutely phenomenal right now. For their credit, Twig and Variety did, I think, just about all they could on that Fire Giant. There's no way they're confirming it themselves. All they can do is get in there, buy time, and try to put as much damage into the Glads as they can. Just try to see if they can force them off the Fire Giant that way. Make some disruptions happen. The Gladiators, they're just not having any of it. And I think the biggest thing here is that, sure, there's only 4 members with the Fire Giant, but it's Itori with the Fire Giant, it's
Oh, yeah.
Zap with the Fire Giant. Most importantly, it is MastkiII with that Fire Giant. He's been tearing up the back line just with his normal stat. This buff on top of it, the Kings are going to have one difficult team fight ahead of them.
Pyromancer at least taken by the Camelot Kings. I don't think we can understate exactly what's happening here. Game number 1, far from over. You always expect some pushback from the Camelot Kings, but the fact that we are even here in this moment, we have not seen a particularly close 30-minute game between an SPL and an SEC squad yet this week, and this is the most lopsided matchup we've got. This is the top SPL team against a 4th-seeded EU SEC team, and the Gladiators want to push their advantage. They're going to Phoenix dive early, but Rivers Rebuke plus Sanctified Field, it's big and it's separated out this fight. The Kings still have something to say about this matchup, and lestimics is the first to die. That effectively limits this siege for the next minute or so.
So much burned was for that kill, though. I mean, 3 ultimates are down on the side of the Kings. Meanwhile, they've only burned 2 for the Gladiators, and most important, Kingslayer is still available. The Sunbreaker's still available. If the Gladiators still want to look at some fights, they still have plenty of tools available to them for it. Sure, the Kings have stopped that siege for now. They're pushing back. They want to get something on the map. You're most likely looking at this tier 2. The Gladiators, they still have the tools to contest everything.
They sure do. The Gladiators just need to take a deep breath for a second. You'll get your solo laner back in 15 seconds. Top of the damage charts is Sap 7. So we haven't seen Baba Yaga in a while, but this is the state of the game, right? Where you pick a Baba Yaga for, you get late in the game, you've got your Warlock staff stacked, Charon's coin as well, some Divine Ruin for anti-heal. I mean, the burst damage, but also sustained damage, that home sweet home throughout the fight, potentially catches the Camelot Kings off guard. It's been great, but been so difficult to dive that. And I think that's a conversation you have to look at as well, because MastkiII has just been W key to the backline. Feels like if I can kill one of BigManTingz or Netrioid, great. I might die for it, but I've given my team an advantage. Kind of need Twig to try to match that, but hasn't been able to consistently find either Sap or Itori. Needs to change here for the Camelot Kings.
Such a hard order, though, trying to dive on Sap 7 with this Baba, but the Kings are surging forward. They're looking to make it happen.
Dazer was tanking up the tier 2 for his team. This is a good Sanctified Field. Forces 3 members of the Gladiators out to the left, and Dazer will drop alone. I don't know. I mean, you're tanking up a tower. There's an Ullr on the other team. Now Sap is in a bad spot. Variety blinks forward, and there's the return damage from BMT. This is maybe where the Camelot Kings can tilt the favors back towards themselves. Sap gonna get walked at by all the Camelot Kings. Rivers Rebuke ends up getting saved, but the Gladiators staying on the map somehow, except for MastkiII, and the set drops off the face of the earth. And the Kings have now found their advantage. They have found a double. CaptainTwig looks for Sap. lestimics makes a D aside, and the Camelot Kings not only live to fight another day, but live to break the base of the Gilded Gladiators.
That just breaks it wide open. Now a 5,000 lead for the Kings, and this is all off the back of just Dazer stepping too far forward.
Wow.
He just tanks that tier 2 for so long. It allows the Kings to step forward, and now they want to push it all the way. Now they're looking at a Titan.
Unbelievable. The Camelot Kings, they will take game number 1. It is not the upset that was looking like for the last 10, 15 minutes of this game, and the SPL number 1 seed shows why they're the SPL number 1 seed. They turn around a dire situation, and they'll take game number 1. A bit of a surprise, though, I think. You know, the Kings, they'll say they weren't worried. They'll say they knew they had their footing here in this game. You got to give respect to the Gladiators and their game plan. It worked for the majority of the game until that last team fight there, and didn't make it easy for the Kings.
No, not easy at all. The Gladiators, they wanted the fight, and they took it all the way to the Kings. And they were looking really, really good for the entire duration of that game. It looked like they were going to be able to take it all the way. Like we just talked about, Dazer steps forward. He wants to make that tier 2 happen. The whole of the Gladiators want to make that happen. But it's just too much damage. It takes too long to break that tier 2 down. And the Kings, they're no strangers to this kind of situation. If they see an opportunity, they're going all in on it, and they break it all the way.
Yeah, I mean, the Cabrakan steps forward, takes the Ullr stun, takes tower shots, burst, volley, all of it hits Dazer, and then chase down between Sanctified Field, Rivers Rebuke, all of it. Very, very strong here for the Camelot Kings. So Kings fans, breathe a sigh of relief here. Game number 1 over to the Camelot Kings. Game number 2 between the Kings and the Gladiators coming up next.
I gave up dabbing for Lynn.
Cool. No more dabbing for Final King. He looked at me and said, I'm going to be on that stage next year. I'm going to become a world champion.
I win? What did it win?
You win the respect.
You're telling me an alien wore this?
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, that was a good cut.
Messaging him to mute.
The best graphics you really need, Ultra, of course, and I can probably watch a stream on the side.
Content's gonna look good.
Pretty good, pretty good.
The most annoying instrument's got to be something like a harmonica. I think a lot of people who play it very pretentious, take themselves probably a little bit too seriously. So yep, it's the harmonica.
I'm thinking of a bunch of them, but none of them are like annoying. I can't think of an annoying instrument.
I'd probably say somebody who's bad at like the flute. Just kind of like, it can be a little annoying, but to be fair, if you're good at any instrument, it's impressive and cool to listen to, so.
I feel like you could be the most annoying with drums. You know, if you really want to be annoying with drums, they could be pretty annoying. But I don't know, because I feel like they're mostly annoying if they're played badly, but like, I guess the most loud stuff, like, yeah, drums or electric guitar or something.
I will say, what you call the thing like, I don't know what you call it. Yeah, harmonica, yeah, I would say.
What are those like shakers, or like the thing that you like bang? Like you like hold it with one hand and it like bangs and like makes a sharp ding. It has like kind of like bells on the side and you like fucking you tap it. Yeah. The thing that you like ding 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 ding. I hate those tambourine. Yeah, that is not it. I don't like the thing.
I'd say the flute is probably the most annoying instrument. I just hate how it sounds, honestly. I don't know.
I don't know. Which instrument do I find the most annoying? Clarinet. I'm just throwing out the.
Enemies in the jungle.
Go, Suku!
Just hit rewind. I'll be back. Wait. Please. Time flies like an arrow. Good game. Lightweight, baby! No. Lightweight, baby! No. Lightweight, baby! No. Okay.
Cupid!
Okay. Have fun. Lightweight, baby!
Whee!
Bro! Good game.
Genie can give me a wish? Well, I mean, if it's for, I mean, you gotta just go with like something for everybody, right? You can't be a selfish guy. Maybe some world hunger solving, something like that. Maybe some like medical solving, stuff like that, I don't know. But also, maybe a nice bag of pretzels would be cool too. Maybe one of those.
One wish, like right now, would be to not have to wear glasses and yeah, just have good eyes, cause yeah.
So the wish I would wish for would be, well, obviously everybody's got to do the more wishes thing, but I'd probably say like $1 gazillion. I don't know, dude. I don't know, man.
If a genie could grant me one wish, it'd probably just be to win worlds, right?
What's up, Smite fans? Dolson here, and Season 9 of the SPL is shaping up to be maybe the best ever. And to help us get there, we're partnering with Alienware to provide us, our players, the production team, with state-of-the-art gear to make this year one of the best yet. But don't take my word for it. Let's hear what the pros have to say.
As a professional player, it's super important to make sure that you just have the absolute highest quality gear and peripherals that you can ever get. And having an Alienware PC has completely upped our game here at the SPL.
It's really nice being able to play from the same PC from home into the studio, and I highly, highly recommend it. It feels great to play on.
So I really enjoyed using Alienware computers because, one, I'm a streamer, content is my job, and the power of the Alienware PCs is like amazing. It's perfect for everything that we need to do.
I stream 1080p, no problem. I have no issues with FPS, no frame lag or anything like that.
64 gigabytes of RAM is just something that you can only dream of, and like it helps so much with processing like anything that you need to perform, like multitasking, whether it's streaming, recording, gaming, like everything all at once, and it's been a very smooth experience.
As someone who doesn't enjoy building my own PC, the Alienware's kind of got everything in one machine. It was super easy.
I really like the pre-built Alienware as well because it's really hard to get a graphics card on the market currently.
A 3090 is like impossible to obtain, so being able to play on it has been honestly a very lucky experience.
Back in the day, I used to game and do all my content on a really pathetic laptop, and once I actually was able to get an Alienware PC, there's just no turning back.
For a lot of players that were used to just their home setups and maybe didn't have top quality products, going to such a huge upgrade with our Alienware PCs has just absolutely increased the quality of our practice.
I'm just a big fan of Alienware. I think they're the top of the line PCs literally for a reason.
It's definitely the best PC I've ever had by a long way.
Shout outs to Alienware, great company, love them a lot.
And I have nothing but praise for the product.
That's high praise from some of the best gamers in the world. So thanks again to Alienware for powering us this year in Season 9 of the SMITE Pro League. And remember, if you want to get your hands on some of the gear that our pro players play on, make sure to check out Alienware on all of their socials and at their website as well.
I think if I didn't have my Alienware, I would go out and purchase one right now.
back, everyone, to the SMITE Summer Masters. Kings, a little bit of a bumpy road there as we end up going through game number 1. But as we push forward, the Gladiators, Mifflin, surprisingly looking, I want to say, incredibly strong for a majority of that game. Again, a couple of stumbles towards the end. A gold lead there for the Kings that felt a little insurmountable, but a lot of good plays there from the Glads.
Yeah, I really liked what I saw from the Gladiators, specifically in the team fight. They really were completely leveraging that aggressive style we were talking about the desk a little bit earlier. I mean, just running it down as a 5-man core for the most part, and it looked good. But every single time they're getting like 3-for-0 trades or 4-for-1 trades, I'd look at the top of the screen, you know what I saw? Camelot Kings still up 2K. Camelot Kings still up 3K. Camelot Kings still up 1K. And even on the Fire Giant Siege, I was getting pretty hyped, right? I'm thinking Fire Giant on 4. We're coming off a couple of team fight wins. SCC to the SPL. And I remember, wait, hold on. These are the Camelot Kings. They're going to demand some perfect play around these Phoenixes, and we didn't get to quite see that from the Gilded Gladiators. Once the Kings seem to have gotten their feet under them and realized, hey, this game's getting a little bit close. It seems like they refocused, took it a little bit more seriously, and the game got pretty clean immediately afterward. The team fight, in particular, Netrioid, so disruptive. Every single time that 5-man dive started coming his way, Fields became sanctified, and the fight started looking a little bit worse.
Honestly, it was something that, again, late game looked pretty fun for the Kings. And again, for a lot of the farming went pretty well. BigManTingz 6-3-7, 0-2-12 there for Genetics. A pretty particularly good Yemoja game. And it goes back to what we were saying, I think, going into that, where it's like, oh, man, are you sure? Is that something you want to let through? And unfortunately for the Gladiators, it is. Still an interesting game for them. 41,000 damage. Look, if you're going to first pick Baba Yaga, you got to have a good performance. And Sap, I think, lived up to the expectations of going for something first pick. Do I absolutely recommend it? Blanket statement? Probably not. But Sap would manage to make it work, and it looked pretty solid despite the loss there for them. Wondering what they're going to end up doing for their, I believe now, second pick. And maybe if they highly prioritize that Baba Yaga again, as they did before. As we get into game number 2 here, and they swap places. Mifflin, I want to bring up something that I forgot to bring up at the beginning of this.
Please.
And it was the one last question, not the last one we watched, with the Genie Wishes. But the one prior to that, about the musical instruments. First off, I remember when I wrote that question down and for Jordan when they were doing interviews, and I said, if anyone says bagpipe, I want you to point them to me. So I meant it at the time. Nobody said it, so we're feeling pretty good about that one. But you felt personally attacked. A 2x towards the harmonica, 2 people going towards the flute. And I think you've got a little experience on both of those.
Yeah, before I played football, I was actually in the band, and I was playing flute because legitimately I was talking to the band instructor, and I was like, man, which instrument should I play? And he's the coolest dude I'd ever met, and he said to me, well, there's only women on woodwinds. And I said, put me there.
High school Miff knew what he was about.
Yeah, so I played the flute for a little while. Then recently I've decided that I wanted to learn how to play the harmonica because I'd watched Shawshank Redemption again. Turns out Morgan Freeman's just better at it than me.
Yeah, well, it takes time, right? You got to learn it. I was surprised, personally. No one said, like, the wood clapper. Well, granted, I don't know how many of them know, but you know the song Sleigh Ride? Dude, where it's, like, supposed to emulate the whip, but it's 2 blocks of wood with a hinge, and you just slam them together. And that thing always irked me while I was in orchestra. Either way, we're in game number 2 here, and we can start talking about it. Kings up 1-0, and first pick, they ban out the Daji, standard. But they also take out the Baba Yaga, and the set. They recognize those as being 2 huge problems for them. Didn't want to deal with it again. The Gladiators, they go back to the Khepri, the Lancelot, and the Nemesis to make sure their bans stay pretty much the same.
So, where will the Gladiators go with second pick available to them? Could take the Yemoja away here. I think that was a significant keystone of the Kings' previous composition, but the Gladiators took Baba Yaga first overall, so I'm not so sure they're concerned with what the other side is doing. Sobek, though, as a priority lock.
Arise,
generally
my
when you take
child!
Sobek this high up in your draft, you want him in the soul lane so they can hold his own. But when you think about the Gladiators players, Itori subbing in the ADC role, actually off-rolling as well, maybe you want to put him on something a little bit more comfortable, something that's a little bit safer, something like the Heimdall. So if you're going to seed pressure in the dual lane, like we had seen previously, Netrioid even on that Olorun was getting the better end of a lot of those trades. Maybe you want to put something high pressure in the soul lane on the other side. Sobek, not exactly that. So maybe it's Sobek support, Tiamat mid. Still curious selections because They leave everything that the Kings could possibly want up.
I was thinking that. You're right. Tiamat we don't see too often. Was banned last game by the Kings, so should be noted the Gladiators are going to be bringing something strong. They grab the Anhur into the Cupid here. Normally Artemis, I would say, is the typical matchup, so something fresh there, although Anhur good at boxing. The Kings, Mifflin, have Cabrakan, Cupid, and Eset. And assuming this is Eset support the way that they've done it the last couple of times, they want to fight. I mean, this is a team that just, and you told me before this set that you expected them to go for something, you know, like we saw last week against the Warriors, where it was like squishy, just aggressive, we want to fight, and we'll kill you to get to the win. This feels like it's on path to do that.
Yeah, hoping that is Cabrakan support, because Cabrakan and Cupid have very quickly become one of the most aggressive duo lanes in the game. Just the lockdown potential, the multi-man stuns, the immense damage that those two can put together. So, would like to see Cabrakan in support. That would leave Eset towards mid. And then the Camelot Kings have essentially got themselves a composition already that slams objectives. Your duo lane by rote should just establish pressure, and then Circle Protection is unbeatable confirmation on objective. Whereas on the other side, the Gladiators have got, sure, what is normally considered a high-pressure hunter with Anhur, but up against Cupid, not so certain that I love that matchup. I mean, damage just does not stick to the God of Love. You've got Tiamat, so not exactly the best objective steal potential. You don't really have a burst ultimate like that, so I'm thinking the Kings have got themselves a good deal of control, at least on that left-hand side of the map. I'm kind of hoping now that this Gladiators is putting this Sobek in support. Sobek Anhur, if you've been around since like 2011, one of the OG kill lanes.
It's literally one of the first duo lanes.
Yeah, one of the OG kill lanes. And then that could give you some pressure over the soul lane. Things like, I don't know, the King Arthur come to mind to establish lane dominance there. Because if the Kings are playing for the gold, you probably want to be on that Pyro.
Well, Chaac gets locked in. I'll go over the bans real quick before we break into that. Osiris, Amuz, and Cobb taken away by the Gladiators. Kali, Raven banned out by the Kings. And they lock into Chaac. Now, normally, Mifflin, I'd be flipping out and talking about it in depth and excitedly. We did see it yesterday, though, so it's not like it's an uncommon pick completely to Masters. It is still a wild pick, though, to be locking in here. And we've seen it, technically we've seen it go into the jungle a couple of times, but we've also seen it, I'm going to say this one just because I think due diligence, it's technically been thrown mid sometimes. Probably going to go to the solo lane here, right? But although can flex around with Sobek being there, still has some wiggle room for it. I mean, with Naja, potentially a Bellona, but whatever they end up locking in here, how do you feel just about the Chaac in general with their draft and what they're up against?
I mean, Chaac is always going to have value from that ultimate. It's one of the best ultimates in the game. Massive AoE, good burst damage, knock up, plus silence. Very, very strong. You've got some channeled abilities that you can deal with. Eset's Wing Gust. Cabrakan starts running you down. Maybe you are able to silence him out as well. So Chaac on his own, not an awful pick, but what makes Chaac hard to execute on is that he's really got to stick to you in the late game, and it takes a while for him to do actual damage. It feels like very often the contribution of the team fight is, I blinked in, I ultimated, they're silenced, please kill them before they can cast abilities, because I'm just standing here and healing in their face. So that is my concern for the Chaac, why I think we don't see him overly often, because he may be a jack of all trades, he is a master of none.
Yeah, that'll be unfortunate for them. They're going into, it feels like, the Bellona on that side of the map, unless they do something silly here and lock in a wild pick for the Gladiators. We'll let them get that in through the bank time. I'll look over towards the Kings instead, Mifflin. Cabrakan, Cupid, Eset, Naja, Bellona. And it feels like, just looking at this, either they're going for a Leviathan style, and this is a Cabrakan mid, like Shinto was playing, or more than likely, Tingz on the Eset, and a Cabrakan over there in the support. So it feels like something that, like you said, with a Cupid beside him, can just run at you, and it's almost too much damage to deal with.
Yeah, when I look at the Kings draft, I could stop doing my analysis after the top three, because those bottom two don't really matter when your Cupid, Eset, and Cabrakan are so strong. But Naja, win fire wheels, land them into a Fields of Love, Bellona, disarm against a couple auto attackers on the Gladiator. What is this draft, man?
Chaac
couple
jungle.
Auto attackers.
Everything else makes sense. It's Chaac jungle.
It's got to be Chungle, right? But like, that does put Sobek in support, Cthulhu solo. Your team fight isn't crazy though. Like, it's not a wild team fight. So how is Cthulhu really going to operate in this match? I don't love this Gladiators draft. I'm going to be completely honest. Let me pull the veil back. I think the Kings got this one.
Yeah, I mean, look at their draft. Bellona, something that we've seen Variety play to a lot of success. Naja, guess what? Something Twig has played to a lot of success. The Eset, the Cupid, the Cabrakan. You can say the same things about them. The other side, Sobek Anhur. You had mentioned that. 2012, the only other lane that might have been more potent in trying to find aggression and kills than that at the time was like Anhur Ymir. And that's just because Ymir wall Anhur stun works a little better. But the pluck being there feels like you can get aggressive. Cabrakan can be kind of squishy. And so maybe there's some pressure there. But you got Tiamat, you got Chaac, you got Cthulhu. You know, you're looking at, I would argue, a tankier composition from the Gladiators. Very survivable. But like you said, team fight-wise, you got Cthulhu ult, you got Chaac. That might be it. Like, on her damage from behind. It definitely feels like there's going to be some late-game struggles for the Gladiators.
Yeah, you got to hope Sap 7's hitting everything and hitting them more often than he has it up, right? Like, I'm thinking you want that bobble for the 60% CDR, and you're hoping that it doesn't do enough to remove your damage, because on her in the late game, I mean, he's still a hunter, but doesn't have a standard attack speed stim, and compared to some of these other ability-based hunters, the Cupids, the Chirons, doesn't really keep up in that department. So generally does start to fall off a bit. Chaac, if you're taking him into the jungle, goodness gracious, probably going a bit more assassin-based in the build. Yeah, I'm going to go in with my ultimate, and I'm not going to do a whole lot afterward, but it's a whole lot of damage from that ultimate.
And they're silenced.
And they're silenced, but the auto attack's probably enough to shut you down.
Yeah.
So bruiser potential a bit mitigated from this Chaac. Cthulhu can create space, but like, who's he creating space for? There are no standard hyper carries for the Gladiators.
Well, the good news is, and normally we see Cthulhu, you know, you're talking about the Kali's, your Nemesises, anybody who can, like, burn health bar really quick. There's not a lot of that on the Kings unless they change the build-up for the Cupid. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that. Will the Kings run away with it the way Mifflin thinks, or will the Gladiators surprise us here? So we jump into game number 2.
Game 2 against the best in the league, the Camelot Kings, who have drafted a very consistent composition for themselves, something we have seen this Kings team make work in the past. Naja and many other hands, Spooky, I think probably maybe more questioned than in the hands of Twig, maybe even Scream for the Jade Dragons. The Kings have made this style of draft work in the past.
Yeah, the Naja is definitely one we don't see super often from other teams, but for Twig, I can see what they're doing. You can see that the draft has already formed itself kind of around this Naja. You take someone up into those Windfire wheels, you know exactly where they're landing, whether that's into a Circle of Protection, Fields of Love, or, oh, God forbid, both. Whoever lands in that is going to be blown up. My concern goes over to the Gilded Gladiators. This Chaac jungle is very, very different from what we saw MastkiII on in Game 1. It's so much different than the set. And really, MastkiII was a big proponent of why the Gilded Gladiators were able to get as far as they did. Seeing him switch this up now onto this kind of unorthodox pick, it has me a little bit concerned. But like you said, they surprised us in game number 1. We could very well see something like that here in game number 2.
Absolutely. Who knows what MastkiII is capable of on this Chaac jungle. I would have loved to have seen a run back, the assassin, get it going, early and often style of pick. But going to have to be something a little bit different. Dazer's got the apple on his head, and how disruptive genetics can be. But it looks like the Sobek will be just fine. So Sobek plus Anhur. The desk was talking about it, Spooky. One of the OG, old-timey lanes paired together. You assuming those two can get pressure put on over in the left side of the map.
You would assume so. I mean, Itori on this Anhur is going to just gain pressure just on account of having the Anhur. He does so much damage early. The ability to just put the damage out onto the enemy carry is something to be worried about. You have to be very careful around that. Add on to that Dazer just demands you position well. You have to keep in constant mind that pluck that can come out.
Yep.
And you already see, a little bit more of that pressure happening over here in the mid lane. MastkiII and Sap, they want to make something happen. Tiamat's normally a much later game god. That's generally where you're going to be seeing the Gladiators focus in the late game, is getting Sap online. They have no problems taking it to the Kings early.
Yeah, I wonder, do you think, I mean, is that just MastkiII on Chaac, right? I mean, a warrior in class, even if you play it in the jungle, stats remain warrior. You think MastkiII realizing that his power curve is maybe early on in this game, and with the blink, MastkiII feels like there's an opportunity to get active pretty early on.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've already seen that he knows how to play these picks that he does go for. On that set, he knew exactly what he was doing. He was finding the dives, and he was making those plays happen. Here on the Chaac, sure, the god might have changed, but he still knows what he wants to do. Like we've always talked about, Chaac is a very good early game god. If you're picking the Chaac, you want pressure wherever he's at in the early game.
Right.
Well, in the jungle now, where he's at is wherever you want him to be. He can go anywhere right now. If that's the mid lane, absolutely make it happen. Don't let BMT get online. Try to put him down a little bit further. Get your Tiamat scaling a little bit sooner. That's going to be a really important factor in this game. But he doesn't have to limit himself. He doesn't have to go just there. He can go anywhere he wants, just like Dazer is kind of doing what he wants right now.
Needed the pluck out.
Oh, no, wait,
I wonder why Netrioid left there. Literally one more auto attack from Netrioid would have gotten first blood, maybe assuming that MastkiII was somewhere over on the left. Genetics and Net clearly on different pages there. Genetics stuck around with the Trevors, nearly got the kill. And Netrioid was having none of it. Didn't want to hang out any longer. If nothing else, you're not risking dying for first blood. You don't get the kill for yourselves. You do force Dazer back to base nonetheless. And the Sobek and the Anhur have consistently been pushed back beneath their own Tier 1 towers. So that's an unfortunate start to the game for the Gilded Gladiators. And for CaptainTwig, you know, once you hit level 5, obviously your initiation gets stronger. It's not the same as like the Ratatoskr, but I don't think Twig was using it through the Cosmos all that actively early on anyway in game 1. Felt like he was just walking into lane and finding initiation targets. Maybe MastkiII can help out and snag something onto Variety here. He'll teleport forward, but not much to be had, and the Bellona ends up walking away. And I do think the solo lane worth talking about here, Spooky. The Bellona up against the Cthulhu. Haven't seen much Cthulhu. Health burn later on in the game is going to be very important for the Kings.
For sure. Cupid able to go ahead and get that kin size online. It's not going to be a problem for the Kings to get that online. And even Bellona, if they decide that they need a little bit more, they can have Variety go into that kin size build. It's not something you typically see, but you can slap a Shogun's Kusari, which you can see she is going for first there. That's her tier 1 item. Slap the Shogun's Kusari on, slap the kin size on, and suddenly this lestimics Cthulhu pick, it's not such a big deal for the Kings, but this might be a big deal in the duo.
Well, good combo there between Dazer and Itori. A pluck into a pillar, into a stun, but not enough to fully kill off Netrioid. That is the risk you run. Genetics and Netrioid hit level 5 first, used their ultimates pretty quickly. But then Dazer and Itori hit level 5, and they had the ultimate advantage a second later because Genetics and Netrioids had their on cooldown, though Dazer's still at level 4. And so you'll have Lurking in the Waters here soon. Importantly, though, both ADCs hold on to their beads in the last couple of minutes. So between a Cupid, between an Anhur, definitely gank potential with these two junglers. Both of them have Blink. Maybe activity to be had over on the left side of the map. And I like Genetics on this Cabrakan specifically. We talked a little bit about the other side of the duo lane, but Genetics feels like just able to make everything work. Maybe CaptainTwig can do so as well. If nothing else forces out the Descent into Madness, but still remains pretty low kill early game.
And that's actually a really big pick for the Kings, though. Sure, they don't get a kill. They haven't made a whole lot happen over there, but they burn the Descent into Madness. lestimics now just has one less safety tool, and that makes him a little bit easier to kill. You noticed Variety has not used the Eagle's Rally at all so far.
No.
He still has the ultimate available. This is a good engagement opportunity for Variety. They can look for a lead over here in this solo lane, but also that duo lane, like you touched on. We've seen those ults come out. Those are going to be coming up pretty soon here as well. Itori is still going to have his ultimate down for a little bit there. But neither one of them have backed so far. They're still just holding on to those leather cows, those tier 1 items. They're not looking the strongest. For junglers who've already reset once or twice in this game, this is an opportunity.
There you go, first big gank of the game. Nice walls from Genetics. I'm not sure the Chaac ult was going to hit Netrioid anyway, but has Genetics now put himself into a bad spot? One more auto, somebody's got to hit it. MastkiII walks forward, and the Gladiators strike for first blood. And so similar to what MastkiII was able to get done in game 1. Puts pressure on left, Genetics drops off, and the Chaac jungle Spooky is hit for first blood.
And that's what you want to see if you're going to go for the Chaac jungle. You want to see it active. You want to see it getting those first blood picks. They also got the beads out of Netrioid as well there. That's a big win for them
big one.
over there on that duo lane. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go back in a little bit here, because now the Transcendence is also online. MastkiII is going to be getting stacks on that. He doesn't have any just yet. Twig is a little ahead of him there. But once he gets those stacks online, he's got a little bit more power. He's got a little bit more CDR going for him. And that's going to make those ultimates come out more and more often. The Storm Call is really what you're looking for.
Might use it here on right. MastkiII trying to assist his solo laner. What has happened to lestimics' HP bar? It's just been worked down. CaptainTwig blinks forward. No good. On the Windfire wheels to the body blocks! Oh, that's unbelievable from lestimics. That'll be the second kill of the game. And a late Eagles rally in from Variety. At least pulls one back for the Camelot Kings. And now the 1v1 is in. And it's MastkiII who will win it. The Gilded Gladiators win a 2 versus 2 on the right side of the map and pick up 2 more kills, but over in mid, could be worse. Pluck onto BMT, circle of protection, and nice walls from Genetics. Keep Dazer at bay. Tings have the damage. One more gets it. And BigManTingz keeps the Camelot Kings afloat over in mid.
Such weird aggression coming out from the Kings there. It's a good blue buff invade. You like to see that happen, especially against the Cthulhu. He relies on having that blue buff constantly going because he's a mana-hungry Guardian. He needs those abilities if he wants to clear those waves. He doesn't do it with his basics so well. But they just overcommit onto it. The Windfire Wheels not connecting was one of the big missteps for CaptainTwig there. That's what puts him so far back. And then he's just in the perfect position for lestimics to just body block into that tower. Just unlucky for Twig there. But Variety's decision to go in afterwards, that's the big question mark for me. I mean, you're jumping in with very little health, and now Twig is also very little health in the enemy jungle.
Man, doesn't have Blink, doesn't have Ultimate, but does have the ability to dodge out some of the damage, and MastkiII desperately trying to get this kill onto Twig. But the happy feet enough to give Twig some time and give Variety some time to reinitiate. And reinitiate the Kings will. Not only does Twig survive, Twig grabs an assist. What a play from the Kings jungler to avoid death and help set up for the rest of his team. But as lestimics got eyes for BigManTingz, who has no more mana, and the walls from Genetics keep Cthulhu right where he's at. And it looks like the Kings are able to disengage unless Dazer hits the pluck, which he's not. But Spooky, my goodness, we keep going back and forth, reinitiate, disengage, all of it.
The Kings are coming back.
Only for one kill.
Netrioid's here.
And now Net is over from the duo lane out of nowhere. Sap drops. Messy in the first 10 minutes of this game, and the Kings have taken the kill lead.
They finally seem to have found the end of that fight. Netrioid coming in clutch there to close that one up. Gladiators, they wanted as much as they could take there, and there was a very, very split fight. You saw CaptainTwig had to burn his ultimate again in that fight, not for aggression, just for safety, trying to put distance between himself and the rest of the Gladiators. And the Gladiators couldn't seem to pick a target that they wanted to stick on. The first they were looking over there at BigManTingz. Okay, well, he's a little bit too far away. Well, maybe we'll look at Genetics. Okay, well, now he's a little bit too far away. Hey, where did CaptainTwig go? And they just couldn't find enough concentrated damage to put any one of those targets into the ground. I think it's unbelievable that CaptainTwig was actually able to get out of that alive, but that's because of Variety coming over with that Eagles rally. Those are the kind of ultimates that you're wanting to see from the solo laner, and you can expect from a guy like Variety.
Yeah, need to get him. Double knockup, double silence, double damage from MastkiII. Twig with the burst heal. Man, Twig just so slippery, and this has got to be annoying for the Gladiators. Twig not only lives again, but again, a kill over to the Camelot Kings, and Itori has jumped in and hit a whole lot of nothing. And he's on the wrong side of this lane now. This is going to be a 1 versus 1 between Netrioid and Itori. And Net will dash in. Desert Fury out of Itori. Fields of Love maybe close for Netrioid, but ends up not being much. And the Camelot Kings are able to push their advantage a little bit further, closing in on 2,000 gold ahead with a couple of extra kills in the back pocket.
Yeah, right now the Kings are feeling a lot better in this game than they did in game number 1. They found themselves. They're feeling their groove right now. Netrioid, he wasn't really looking for the solo kill there. He didn't really care if Itori was able to survive or not. He was just trying to pull that ultimate out. He doesn't want that Desert Fury available because now the Fields of Love are back up. Now if Itori wants to take a fight, he's going to have to burn the beads instead of just being able to pop the ult and walk away. The beads are a much longer cooldown, and this gives the Kings a lot better opportunity to start putting some pressure over to that duo lane. But that said, CaptainTwig has been kind of getting in this weird position. He's constantly over here on this right side, and he's looking for the invades. He's looking to put pressure onto MastkiII because MastkiII was such an integral part of the Gladiators. But he keeps kind of getting caught out. The Gladiators keep spotting him on these rotations. It might be about time to start looking at other parts of the map.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if Twig has his option, could consider taking advantage of the down ultimate from Itori. The only real level discrepancy that's built up is Dazer, who's a couple levels behind. 2 of the 5 kills of the Camelot Kings have been onto the Sobek. That's just the life of Sobek, though. I mean, you dash in, if you don't hit the pluck, and you don't have your ultimate, you're in a really, really bad spot. But think about where the Kings made their money in Game 1. It was moments like this, a casual pull onto the Pyromancer. This time you've got Circle of Protection for what should be should be guaranteed confirm, but it's not. Through a Circle of Protection, the Gilded Gladiators steal away the Pyromancer. That's a nice small win, evens up the gold lead. Right, that is a caster's curse that was just over the horizon. I'm talking about how easy it should be to confirm the objectives, but the Kings don't, and the Gladiators make a nice play happen.
I don't even know how the Gladiators were able to confirm that out from under BMT. I mean, that's such a big secure. That's one of the best secures in the game. You saw the Mire come down. I thought it had dropped both ticks of damage, but apparently not. Apparently maybe the Kings made that same mistake. But it's all okay. Not too doom and gloom just yet. It's only even after the fact, and the Kings have already shown that they are more than capable of stepping forward and taking these fights. They're not going to let this get to them. And look at the way Netrioid is just holding this trebuchet. He doesn't want it to push all the way forward. He's forcing a response from the Gladiators, pulling them to this left side.
This has been Dazer's issue a couple of times so far in this game. A pluck in that gets nothing, and then Dazer a bit out of sorts. MastkiII hovering over here on left, potentially trying to put the fear into Netrioid and Genetics, but now it's MastkiII ulted by CaptainTwig. Down he drops, and my goodness, there's your damage. Genetics deals the killing blow on a killing spree, by the way. Is this Cabrakan, an immediate Gold Fury pull by the Camelot Kings. Circle of Protection should be enough to confirm the Gold Fury, and it is this time. The much more important objective goes to the Camelot Kings. A pluck from Dazer slows them down, and the Kings get Gold Fury +2 to go.
That is not what you wanted if you're the Gladiators. Good positioning. They had the respect. They were responding to that Gold Fury pull, but it's a little bit over-aggressive. Dazer blinks in after the fact. It ends up in the middle of all 5 members of the Kings. And unfortunately, that's just not where you want to be. Not with the Sobek. The pluck isn't going to get you out of that one. And now the Tier 1 is under duress.
That's a good knock-up from lestimics on a blink in and a stun from Genetics. But yes, Tier 1 tower drops. Gilded Gladiators actually send a pretty big team fight ultimate. For the defense, there's no ults ready to go for the Kings, hence the backpedaling, hence the disengage, and a nice gold lead continues to expand up for the Camelot Kings. Genetics has really impressed me so far this game, 3-1-3 on the Cabrakan, especially after falling for first blood, now on a killing spree. And the duality of Cabrakan, right? We have seen Cabrakan simply walk forward, get stunned, die off on cooldown. A well-timed, rightly aggressive Cabrakan can put together the type of game that Genetics is having.
And Genetics has been playing phenomenally with this Cabrakan so far. He's not trying to just W key at the Gladiators. Dazer will step forward 9 times out of 10 and put himself in position for Genetics to capitalize on. Sometimes that results in Genetics being plucked back into the Gladiators. Genetics is fine with that. It's only Itori and Dazer most of the time, so he's able to just turn that aggression over. It's usually going on to Dazer. You can see 0-3-1 right now. He's been the target. As because in the early game, he's not that tanky, just like Itori's not that tanky right now.
Look at this, and Genetics is just covering the leap out. I mean, just maybe confident Netrioid could win the 1v1, which he shouldn't be. Trembles in, Itori up and over the wall, and Netrioid has to back away. What a play from Itori. I mean, that is the only thing that the Anhur could have done there in order to stay alive, is force Genetics to cover the jump out. Netrioid nearly loses the 1v1. And a nice play from the EU SEC ADC, playing here with the Gilded Gladiators. Twig's got to be careful, but should be just fine.
And the Gladiators have shown time and time again that they can hang here with the SPL boys. They are putting up a fight every inch of the way. Now, it is getting a little bit out of hand for them. They're about 2,500 down, starting to push towards this 3,000 goal mark. The objectives are where they've been their weakest so far. It's not the kills, it's not the laning, it's around this team-focused objective gameplay. You can see this already on a minor scale here with these purple buffs. The Kings are just constantly making these aggressive rotations in, and the Gladiators don't have enough members around to respond to it. They're not punishing these invades, so the Kings are just constantly building up this free gold lead. Little by little, XP by XP, and up into the air is Twig.
Is there enough damage to kill off Dazer?
Oh, yes!
Now that BigManTingz is here with a Soul Reaver, and it's CaptainTwig who deals the killing blow, but that damage skyrocketed when BMT made his way left. Tier 1 tower drops, Tier 2 soon to follow. And everything BigManTingz touches turns to gold at this point in the game. Circle protection just to secure the tower. It will drop eventually. And a nice play from the Kings on left.
You see, that's one of those times where you can use your Cabrakan to tank the Tier 2 tower. And let him take a couple shots, take a step back, and you've got a nice circle protection there, soaking up some damage, and when that pops, okay, now you're back up to full health, and you can just walk back to the next objective. Twig, though, is the one being walked at.
You just had a nice play. You don't want to give back a free kill, and that's exactly what's happened to Twig. Double stun for BigManTingz. Simply looks good, but doesn't have an impact on the rest of the game. And that, okay, look, that has not been an immunity of Twigs yet this game. We have seen a mispositioning once or twice from the Naja. Assistance from the teammates on right has helped Twig get out alive. Again, far from game-changing, but you don't want to hand one back for free to the Gilded Gladiators. Gives them maybe a slight bit of confidence and a slight avenue back in.
Definitely not. They've shown that if you give them an inch, they can take a mile. And now they're trying to get around this Pyromancer, but Netrioid is here with the Fields of Love, and they're forcing the fight.
lestimics up into the ultimate. Netrioid can dash forward here, stay aggressive. But instead it's back to the Pyromancer, despite being in a 4v5, and it's because lestimics has already used his ultimate. You don't have this massive team fight utility. Though Dazer over the wall, the circle protection is good this time. Dazer dashes away and ends up stunning his own mid laner. Netrioid finds the first. And there's an Aegis down, a stun down, and a kill down for BigManTingz. The Gladiators, they tried, but this game's starting to get out of hand.
And now 5,000 in the lead is the Kings. And I see the thought process. Dazer wants to get active. He wants to be disruptive. He wants to try to force the fight after the Kings have expended some ultimates on that Pyromancer to secure it. Unfortunately, he keeps blinking into like 5 people. Yep. And even if you're a tank, 5 people are going to do a lot of damage to you. They're going to burn that health bar down, and as soon as he finds his avenue out, well, it's not really an escape when you're carrying a stun to the rest of your team. Set Sap up for disaster, and the Kings, they're just going to capitalize on that. Win the fight, get the objective, now move over to Primal Fury, and look at the way they just switch the aggro back and forth. This is how you know the Kings are used to this objective gameplay.
Will they drop one in return, though? Just happened to CaptainTwig. One more auto from Itori. Doesn't get it, and so BigManTingz remains alive. Pluck on a Twig also won't and maybe shouldn't result in much. It has been a tough couple of games for Dazer. 0-5 now in this game. Could be 0-6 if Variety, Twig, Genetics are able to keep up their aggression here. Lurking in the water, time's out. And MastkiII with the 3-man ultimate, but it's going to be 4 members of the Kings surrounding the Chaac here shortly. Stun in from the Sash, stun in from Netrioid. And MastkiII does end up dying off. And this is where the Kings can just expand on everything they've got. You rally around the Gilded Gladiators, you find a kill at a time, and then maybe you double back for the FG.
Yeah, much different Kings than we saw in game number 1. Maybe much different Gladiators. Maybe not feeling as quite confident as they were before.
Well, MastkiII hasn't been able to get anything done, you know? I mean, what's he doing?
That's the big difference. This Chaac isn't providing the same dive and the same DPS that the Set was. Set is able to get in there. He's able to sustain for a long time, but he has a ton of burst damage. On this Chaac, once you drop the Storm Call, that's it. That's about all your damage that's coming out of there. Sure, you've got the Axe. That's not going to be enough. That doesn't get you all the way there. The silence is what you're playing for here, and there's just not enough follow-up burst for them to make that play happen. They lose the Fire Giant, they're losing the fights. They have to be willing to take a step back here, stop looking for these engagements so frequently, and maybe just prepare for this defense that they're going to have to be ready for.
Now, Netrioid has been out of lane for a little while, hanging out over on right. Itori has been in lane that entire time, so a 2-level lead is built up for Itori. There's your silver lining for the Gladiators. You've got a near level 20 on her. That's a bit ahead in experience from Netrioid, but gold is still going to look fine for Netrioid, don't you worry. Now here's the downside, is there's a 3-level lead in mid lane for BigManTingz, who has just been melting down targets. And Genetics with Blink, and Ankh. Ankh doesn't change much, but maybe lives in the head of Itori. And Genetics is able to do a good bit of damage here. But yeah, I mean, you gotta hope maybe that Itori can make the big play happen, because otherwise, everywhere on the map for the Camelot Kings looks great. My eyes immediately zoom in on Tingz. Finishes up Staff of Mirrodin. Circle protection sets up a nice team fight, and hasn't been dove in the backline just yet.
And right now they just don't have the tools to get to BigManTingz right now. They aren't able to effectively dive the same way they were before. It's because of these changes. Now, Itori, like you said, he's been over there in that left lane for a while, but now he's over here with the right side. He's here with the rest of his team. He should have a good bit of damage to start changing things around. Problem is, he's not going to be the one who's going to be effectively diving this backline. He has to stay further back. He has to be prepared to be with his team to put that DPS out at range. If your Anhur is jumping into the backline and trying to 100-0 someone, something's going wrong.
Yeah, something's not right if that's where Itori is. Dazer, 0-6 in game number 2. lestimics blocked behind the walls. A double kill for BigManTingz. Rejoins his team from across the pond. It has looked good here, not only in game 1, but game 2. This Eset has just run him over. A triple kill, maybe. No, Netrioid will take it away for the killing spree himself. And now 1 by 1, the Kings will run down the Gladiators.
Now Twig now trying to take this 1v1 with MastkiII, but he's just buying time for the rest of his team to take down that Phoenix, and indeed they do. Right back out. Now look at this tier 2. This is going to be a little bit of a tough one for the Gladiators to come back from. That right side of Phoenix being down means there's going to be fire minions to worry about. They can't step up this tier 2. The fact that they stepped up to the tier 2 in right is a shocker to me. Yeah. And the Kings, they're still going to go on forward.
Yeah, look, this is what we expected from the Kings in game 1. It was a great performance from the Gladiators, but ultimately the Camelot Kings, way too clean a team to let that happen to him twice. Variety might end this game on a killing spree as he improves to 4-1-9 on the Bellona. And it looks like disengage, rotate left is the answer here. A couple big ultimates coming back off of cooldown for the Camelot Kings. One final chance for the Gilded Gladiators, but you're going to have to do it without Dazer for the next 20 seconds or so. Fields of Love drops from Netrioid. A leap out from Itori. Half health on a couple members of the Camelot Kings. Maybe the best opportunity the Gilded Gladiators have had, but none of the kills are getting finished off. The Kings will get all 3 Phoenixes, keep everyone on the map, go back, reset, and then they've got eyes for the Titan.
That is so crucial for the Kings and the Gladiators. If you notice, MastkiII didn't have his ultimate for that entire fight. That's the reason that none of those kills could be finished off. Yeah. If MastkiII had the Storm Call there, maybe there's a little bit more set. You can bring down the damage, you can silence out the Kings, and maybe that combos with the Descent into Madness a little bit better. Unfortunately, they didn't have that second front line there. Dazer was still in the grayscale for a while. Itori not able to put out enough consistent damage, and the same is true for Sap, right? On this Tiamat, one of the biggest problems is that Primordial Onslaught, it gets blocked by the first god that it hits. It's going to DPS that god, but it's not going to go through anyone else. So if Variety's in your backline, diving onto Sap, he's the only one that Sap is going to be able to DPS. He's not getting past Variety unless he goes into that ground stance and jumps past him. And then that's just a whole nother can of worms that gets opened up for your backline.
Agreed. Sap has hit decent damage numbers. You know, halfway up the damage charts, just hasn't quite stuck onto the necessary targets. BigManTingz has consistently surprised me. My eyebrows have been raised a couple of times when the Spirit Ball flies in.
So much damage.
Sudden random burst damage out of left field from the Camelot Kings. Tricky now decision-making for the Gilded Gladiators. I mean, you're certainly going to just lose the game if the Kings group up as 5 and walk in underneath your Titan, but you also don't have any Phoenixes. So can you step up and defend this? It looks like the Gladiators might want to.
It's going to be a risky call. At this deficit, this is not a great fight to be taking, but like you said, with Phoenixes down, they don't have that last line of defense to buckle down under, and the fight's already started with Dazer.
Yeah, but you want to have the opportunity. You don't want the decision to be made for you because Dazer gets picked, but it's exactly what happens. Dazer drops once again, and now a 4 versus 5 team fight to stay alive in this set for the Gilded Gladiators, but bad news, it's not looking great for the Gladiators on a double kill from BigManTingz. Sap also going to be chased down on the end of the fight, but BigManTingz makes it a triple. And again, Netrioid steals the next multi-kill that's up. And the Camelot Kings, spooky, they will end game number 2, and they will take the set over the Gilded Gladiators.
Yeah, Fire Giant. Who needs a Fire Giant when you got 4 dead for
Kings.
40 seconds? Dazer's coming up, but he's been nothing more than a slight speed bump in the King's path so far.
He has been a brute minion this game. He has been one extra minion in lane, is what it's felt like. And unfortunately for the Gilded Gladiators, unable to bring back the same performance from game number 1. And I think something to be proud of, Divine, by the way, for BMT. Rejoins his team here in the States, in studio, and has not skipped a beat at all. I think, Spooky, you have to just look back to game 1 here if you're the Gilded Gladiators. You still have matches to play here this weekend. got to be proud of yourselves that you nearly took the first game over the Kings. Very hard to do that against a team this good twice.
For sure. And one of the big things that was going for the Gladiators was they had a lot more safety in that backline. Baba Yaga especially was able to just kind of ignore the dive that the Kings were trying to put onto her.
Yep.
Just go into home sweet home whenever she was under duress, walk away, output the DPS. Additionally, MastkiII on the set looked a lot better than the Chaac. The early game is not quite as good as the Chaac's is, but the late game was so much better. The dives were so much more potent. His ability to 100-0 a target was what was really different in that.
Yeah, if you didn't catch that, that was a parrot that Miff attempted to... Oh, Mike's got it. Of course he does. That is what... It's a macaw. My fault. A macaw was thrown at me by Miff, and I'll allow him to defend his throwing form here on the desk for the post-game breakdown.
Yeah, poor guest analyst Marty the macaw on the ground, Mifflin, and Mifflin in shambles. Whether from embarrassment or what?
I saw a bird. I thought it would like at least glide, so I tried to like airplane it, do one of these moves, but that thing is the opposite of aerodynamic. Dissimilar to its its
Look
inspiration.
at that color. Look at this.
That's not a parrot.
That's a bird.
That's a parrot.
I don't know what parrots look like, man.
That.
I don't know
like
enough
that.
to. I think a macaw might be. Is it like it might be?
I think a
closely
macaw
related,
is just the noise parrots make.
Well, the Kings win here in game number 2. They win this set, and they close out the day 2-0. Although game 1 pretty bumpy and relatively bumpy. Game 2, BigManTingz goes 9-0-9. That might be all you need to know about how that one went. Otherwise, I think there was also a deathless game for Netrioid, and a whole lot of pressure put on by the Kings.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have my thesaurus on me right now, but I think you could break down this desk in just synonyms for chasm, like draft, chasm, canyon, gap, whatever you want to say. Gulch. Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that in a while. It's just a tough one there for the Gilded Gladiators. I just feel like their composition didn't really have the pieces they would need to break apart the Camelot Kings. The Kings obviously refocusing themselves in this one. Very, very clean play all the way across the map. But I just expected more from the Gilded Gladiators. Game 1 was so impressive from them that I really thought they'd be able to at least reprise some of that performance coming into Game 2. But the Camelot Kings woke up, and I suppose on the wrong side of the bed for this one.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a game, I think, where the Kings, like you said, maybe a little bit of a warm-up period. They warmed up pretty well. 4-1-12, 1-2-16. Twig, maybe KD-wise, just those two, it's 0.5. Everything else, absolutely insane. 16 assists there, 17. Unfortunately for Dazer, what was that, 0-9 at the very end. Sub 5K damage in a game where everybody else got 10K plus.
Well, he's a support, you know. There's a lot of intangibles that we can't see on this screen.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that there's a lot of merit behind the play there. Unfortunately, and as Dave put it, essentially a larger, maybe more worthwhile brute minion for
eventually.
the Kings,
I mean, he might have been worth less than one.
There is a point where the math gap for levels will just straight up not give you like anything. You're getting like nothing scraps for the effort that you put in, other than the death timer, and that,
which was low because he was low level.
Yeah, so that but it's still something, right? It's still something that they got, but they look good here, and they end up finding themselves the 2-0. Again, a nice little bump. I would argue good performance from the Gladiators there in game 1. Great performance from the Kings in game number 2. They continue the trend that we've seen so far. This is the 6th set, 6th SBL team that has stayed in the upper bracket, and now the 6th SCC team that has dropped down, unfortunately, with only one more set, and that's actually going to be tomorrow's, the start-off of those elimination games. But it's going to be, I think, very fun, in my mind, to continue to see how these teams continue to shake out. In fact, we can just go ahead and talk specifically to the Kings and how they feel after such a big win for them.
That's right, CaptainTwig, BigManTingz. Tingz back in studio. Twig, talk to me about game 1. The SEC team, you guys obviously favored here in this matchup. Did the SEC squad surprise you a bit there in game 1?
Very much so. They the set jungle hit level 20 at 17 minutes, and they got Fire Giant, and honestly, it looked like a little loss. So, yeah, we were surprised. I think we made a lot of mistakes, but honestly, they just played pretty clean, pretty well together.
Well, good. Look, BigManTingz, you're now back in studio. Feels like you haven't skipped a beat. Get the Eset here in Game 2. Anyone on the team change in your time away from the squad? Anyone grow, shrink? Anyone looking different?
No, it's honestly the same old, same old. But it's good to be back, though. A long travel yesterday. I think I was awake for like 40 hours. So
You got here yesterday?
Yeah, just yesterday. Just fresh off the plane, hop to the studio, nice little day at work. But no, it was good. Game 1 was a bit shaky, but at the end of the day, we came away with a 2-0, and that's the main thing.
That's right, able to relax a bit now after your first set of the weekend. We'll stick with the beach theme here. Final question. You guys are on the beach. You're eating fruit. What fruit are you eating on the beach on a nice hot summer day?
I'll take a little bit of mango and pineapple, I think. Go
good
50-50.
Melon for this one. Yep.
Any melon?
Yeah, any melon. Just a nice, sweet melon.
Understood. Congrats on the win, guys. Looking forward to more of you here in SMITE Summer Masters, and best of luck in your future matchups.
Thank you.
Likewise, excited to see what the Kings have to offer. Again, it's the #1 seed coming into the tournament from the SBL. They have a lot of interesting plays, I think. Still yet to be seen. And maybe we'll start seeing those Saturday. They'll be playing one more time against whoever won yesterday. Valkyries, if I remember correctly, is the team that they will be facing. That's who they have to go through to qualify. So that'll be a fun one to watch. And you'll want to make sure that you tune in there. In fact, we can just look at that bracket and see how things are shaping up for them so you can know the matchups that you are going to be seeing over the next couple of days. That is going to be, like I just said, the Kings and the Valkyries. That one's on Saturday. But the Hounds and the Gladiators, and that's an elimination match. That will be happening tomorrow. And we'll see which one of them gets to fight for the right to stay in the tournament, which one will be sent home. And then the loser of the Kings-Valk set will fight the winner of that one for, once again, the right to continue in the tournament.
Man, I love it when it's elimination day in the studio, right? You come in on days like this, and everybody's positive and talking about how good we all are, happy to see you all again, you know, how are your flights? You come in on elimination day, and you look at these players' eyes, you see one of two things, desperation or hunger. If you're feeling confident, it's probably the hungry. If you're not, it's the desperation. But either way, I'm thriving on the hatred, all right? and that's all I want.
That's just true in Mifflin's life, by the way. Like, that's not necessarily, like, it's pure energy during Elimination Day. But that is also true, I think, throughout the day. Speaking of throughout the day, you can look at the schedule. We're halfway through with this one, that 2-0. Now we'll be moving on to one that I'm personally very excited for. The Scarabs taking on Hex Mambo. And then later on, we'll be watching the Warriors and the Ravens. It is worth mentioning the Mambo, a team normally Trix Tank as the support, subbed in Rotwin this time around. I think a phenomenal player to try and take his place. Interested to see Scarabs. How well have they been meshing with Sam? They looked pretty solid, at least last week, but how much have they been able to accomplish with another week of practice? Although realistically, it was like 3 more days of practice since their last one. So a little bit of pressure, I think, on them. The last team eliminated the SBL from the last Masters. And so that'll be fun to see if they can stop that from happening again, or if the Hex Mambo can make that one happen twice. Mifflin, it feels like that, plus the Warriors and the Ravens, the rest of the day still has a lot of energy in it.
Yeah, I was actually talking to Deathwalker, I believe, a little bit before here, and he had said to me, look, if we had Trix Tank, 100% win rate.
Yeah.
We don't have Trix Tank. 95% win rate estimation from Deathwalker.
So that what we're hearing is that Trix Tank is only 5% of the team?
Well,
or Rotwin is 95% of a Trix Tank.
I'm not a
and it only brings the town
mathematician.
down a little bit.
I'm more of a geographer, personally.
Okay. Yeah,
or slash cartographer.
Yeah, I honestly, from you know what, the last few days, I've really got that out of you, like knowledge of where like Cuba is and what Puerto Rico is, how many states here. Yeah, you've got it all handled.
That's right.
You probably even know what like an isthmus is, things like that. All of
of course.
the fun interactions. Either way, we're gonna throw it to a quick break, and when we get back, we'll have the Scarabs taking on the Mambo.